I need you to stop right where you are. Don't scroll. Don't click away. Whatever you were doing, wherever your mind was drifting, I need you to bring it all the way back to this moment. This is not random. The fact that you are reading these words right now, on this specific day, at this exact time, is not a coincidence. It never is. Something guided you here. Something beyond logic, beyond algorithms, beyond the noise of your everyday life. That something is real. And it has been trying to get your attention for a very long time. You are not here by chance. Deep down, in that quiet place inside you that never lies, you already know that. Something pulled you here. Something beyond logic, beyond the algorithm, beyond the noise of your everyday life. That something is real, and it has been trying to get your attention for a very long time. You feel that pull, don't you? That subtle nudge that made you pause, that made you click, that made you stay when everything else was screaming for your attention. That was not an accident. That was a summons, chosen one. Listen closely. I need you to understand something before we go any further. This message was built specifically for someone like you, not for the masses, not for the casual scrollers. This is for the ones who feel things deeper than most people can comprehend. For the ones who wake up at 3 a.m. with a heaviness they cannot name. A weight that settles on their chest in the middle of the night and refuses to let them breathe. For the ones who look around at their lives and sense, with every fiber of their being, that they were built for something more. Something that doesn't fit into the boxes society has prepared for them. Something that makes them feel out of place in rooms where everyone else seems to belong. If that is you, I need you to stay right where you are. Do not move. Do not scroll past. Because what is about to unfold in these words may be the most important thing you hear all year. It might even be the most important thing you have ever heard. Your entire life has been leading to this moment, this realization, this shift, and it is happening right now. There is a person in your life, maybe someone you trusted completely, maybe someone you loved with an intensity that surprised even you. Maybe someone you gave pieces of yourself to that you have never given anyone else. Pieces you didn't even know you had until they drew them out of you. Maybe someone who smiled at you while quietly working against everything you were trying to build. Someone who held your hand while positioning themselves to push you off the cliff. Someone who spoke words of encouragement while secretly hoping you would fail. And here is what I need you to know. You were right about them. You were 100% right. That feeling you had, that quiet unease that you tried so hard to dismiss, that subtle discomfort that made you question yourself, that made you wonder if you were being too sensitive, too paranoid, too spiritual, too dramatic. That feeling you couldn't quite shake, no matter how many excuses you made for them. It was not paranoia. It was perception. And there is a massive difference between the two. Paranoia is fear without evidence. It is anxiety spinning stories in the dark. Perception is wisdom disguised as intuition. It is your spirit recognizing something that your mind hasn't caught up to yet. It is a gift, not a curse. And you, chosen one, have always had perception far beyond your years. You have never been ordinary, not once. Not even on the days when you desperately wanted to be. Not even when you begged God to make you normal, to make things easy, to make you like everyone else who seemed to coast through life without all the weight you carry. You remember those days, don't you? The days when you looked at other people and wondered why life seemed to flow so easily for them. Why relationships came so naturally for them. Why their paths seemed so straight and clear, while yours felt like a maze, with no exit. Why they seemed to have peace while you were drowning in chaos. You looked at them and you wondered what was wrong with you. Why you couldn't just be normal, just be simple, just be like everyone else. But here is the truth your soul has always known. Even when your mind argued against it, you were never meant to be like everyone else. The very things that made you feel broken were the things that were making you different. The very things that made you feel alone were the things that were setting you apart. Your sensitivity is not a weakness. Your depth is not a burden. Your ability to feel what others cannot is not a mistake. It is a weapon. It is a tool. It is a gift you were given because you were built to see what others miss. Nothing about your life has been accidental. Not 1 second of it. God has been preparing you, not punishing you. Let that sink in. Preparing you, not punishing you. There is a difference so profound, so life-changing, that once you truly understand it, you will never look at your struggles the same way again. Every betrayal you survived was a course correction. Every loss that broke your heart was removing something that would have held you back from where you are actually going. Every moment of isolation, every night you cried into your pillow, every time you felt completely and utterly alone in a room full of people, every season where it felt like the whole world was moving forward and you were standing still, all of it, every single piece of it was purposeful. It was intentional. You were being shaped in the dark because what God is preparing you for requires a strength that can only be built in the fire. You can't build muscle without resistance. You can't build faith without doubt. You can't build wisdom without confusion. You can't build discernment without deception. The fire you've been walking through was not to destroy you. It was to refine you. To burn away everything that wasn't truly you. And now here you are, still standing. That alone should tell you something extraordinary about who you are. That should tell you that you are made of something different. Let's go back to that person, because this is where it gets very important. This is where I need you to lean in. Chosen one. Because what I am about to share with you is the confirmation your spirit has been waiting for. That person, the one your gut has been warning you about, they have not been who they presented themselves to be. And you felt it. You felt it before you had any proof. You felt it in the way the energy shifted when they walked into a room. You felt it in the way certain conversations left you feeling drained instead of filled. You felt it in the way your peace would disappear whenever they were nearby and then slowly return when they were gone. Your body was telling you the truth long before your mind was ready to accept it. That knot in your stomach wasn't indigestion. That tightness in your chest wasn't anxiety. That sudden fatigue wasn't because you hadn't slept well. That was your spirit sounding the alarm. That was your soul trying to protect you. And you ignored it because you wanted so badly to believe in them. Because you wanted so badly to be wrong. Because the alternative meant facing something you weren't ready to face. But this is your confirmation. Your instincts did not lie. They have never lied to you. The only lie was the one you told yourself, trying to make it all fit. The only mistake was when you talked yourself out of what you knew to be true. And you did that because you're a good person. Because you see the best in people. Because you give the benefit of the doubt. Because you know what it's like to be misunderstood. And you didn't want to do that to someone else. But that goodness was weaponized against you. There is a reason you are hearing this today. Because the universe, God, the divine, whatever name resonates most deeply in your spirit, does not allow the chosen ones to stay deceived forever. There comes a point in every spiritually awakened person's journey where the curtain gets pulled back, where the hidden things become visible, where the mask slips and the truth stands right there in front of you, undeniable, impossible to look away from. That moment has either already happened for you or it is about to. Either way, this message is preparing you for it, not to send you into fear, not to send you into rage or revenge, but to anchor you in the truth so deeply that when it comes, you are ready, you are grounded, you are clear, because chosen ones are never destroyed by revelation. They are freed by it. Revelation is liberation. Truth is the key to your cage. And you have been in a cage you didn't even know you were in. Let me tell you something about the kind of people who come into the lives of spiritually sensitive souls. They are rarely obvious. They rarely announce themselves. They don't walk into your life wearing a sign that says danger or warning or this person will hurt you. No. They walk in wearing something that looks remarkably like everything you have been praying for. They show up in the shape of the answer to your loneliness. They speak in the language of your deepest desires. They mirror back to you the things you most want to see, feel, and experience. And for a time, everything feels like confirmation. Like finally something is going right. Finally someone sees me. Finally I am not alone in this. Finally I found my person. Finally I found the one who gets it. And that is by design, not by accident, by deliberate, calculated design. The kind of person who targets a chosen one is not random. They are drawn to your light the way moths are drawn to a flame. Not because they want to bask in it, but because something in them wants to extinguish it. Your light exposes their darkness. Your goodness convicts their badness. Your wholeness reminds them of their brokenness. And instead of letting your light guide them, they try to snuff it out. They see your sensitivity and they call it weakness when really it is your greatest power. They see your compassion and they use it as a door. They see your faith and they smile because they know that someone with your level of belief, your level of love, your level of genuine goodness will give chance after chance after chance. They know you will try to see the best in them. They know you will pray for them, forgive them, make excuses for them. Question yourself before you ever question them. They know this. And chosen one, I am here to tell you, they have been counting on it. They have been betting on it. It was the foundation of their strategy. Your goodness was the doorway they walked through. Your loyalty was the chain they used to bind you. Your love was the weapon they used against you. But here is what they did not count on. Here is what they completely underestimated when they decided to enter your life, your space, your energy. They did not count on God. They did not count on the divine protection that moves around the chosen soul like an invisible shield. Not always preventing the pain, but always ensuring that the pain serves a purpose. They did not count on the fact that every wound they gave you would eventually become a wisdom that made you untouchable. They thought they were breaking you down. They had no idea they were building you up. They thought they were stealing from you. They had no idea that everything they took was already being replaced by something far more powerful. You may have noticed that your seasons of greatest suffering have always been followed by your seasons of greatest clarity. You may have noticed that the moments in your life where everything fell apart were the very moments that preceded your most significant breakthroughs. That is not coincidence. That is not luck. That is the fingerprint of God on a chosen life. That is what it looks like when the divine is actively involved in someone's story. Reshaping the narrative even when the person living it cannot yet see where it is going. You were never abandoned in your pain. You were being authored through it. Even in your hardest moments, even in the moments where the grief was so heavy that getting out of bed felt like climbing a mountain. Even in the moments where the betrayal was so sharp that you questioned your own judgment, your own worth, your own ability to ever trust another living soul again. Even then you were not alone. A force greater than what you can fully comprehend was present with you in those rooms, sitting in the silence with you, holding the weight that your human hands could not carry, not fixing everything immediately, because immediate fixes don't build character. They only delay growth, but staying, remaining, faithful in the waiting, even when your faith felt threadbare, even when the prayers felt like they were hitting the ceiling and bouncing back unanswered. And now you are here, and something is shifting. Can you feel it? There is a reason the energy around your life has been changing lately. You may not have the words for it yet, but there is something different in the atmosphere around you. Something is moving. Something is being realigned. Doors that were locked for what felt like forever are beginning to have a different feeling around them. Like they are no longer sealed shut, but simply waiting for the right moment to swing open. Relationships that once drained you are beginning to fall away naturally, without drama, without force, simply dissolving because they no longer match the frequency you are now vibrating at. And people, new people, aligned people, people who carry the same depth and the same hunger for truth and purpose that you carry, they are beginning to appear in your periphery. This is not wishful thinking. This is spiritual sequence. But before that door opens fully, there is something that must be dealt with. And that brings us back to this person. Because you cannot walk fully into your next chapter if you are still allowing someone who means you harm to have access to your energy, your time, your emotional resources, your trust, your light. And I know how difficult this is for someone with your heart, because you do not want to be the kind of person who gives up on people. You do not want to be the kind of person who closes doors. Everything in your nature wants to believe that if you just love hard enough, if you just pray hard enough, if you just give enough grace, something will change. Something will click. They will wake up. They will choose to be better. They will finally see you, finally appreciate you, finally reciprocate. Chosen one. Some people are not in your life to be transformed by your love. Some people are in your life to test whether you love yourself enough to protect your light. That is one of the hardest truths a spiritually sensitive person can ever receive. Because it feels like giving up. It feels like failing. It feels like choosing yourself at the expense of someone else. And for someone like you, that can feel almost sinful. Like you are abandoning a person who needs you. Like you are being selfish. Like you are not doing enough. But here is the truth your spirit already knows. Even if your heart is still catching up to it, you cannot pour from an empty vessel. You cannot heal someone who is not interested in being healed, who is only interested in what your healing gives them access to, and staying in a dynamic that slowly, quietly, invisibly drains everything good, true, and powerful inside of you is not compassion. It is not love. It is self-abandonment. And God does not call the chosen ones to abandon themselves for people who are assigned to keep them small. Nothing about your life has been accidental, and neither is the timing of this realization. The timing is everything. The timing is perfect. You are not too late. You are not too early. You are right on time. The scales are falling from your eyes at exactly the moment they need to. Let me talk about the specific things this person has been doing. Not with names, not with details you have given me, because I haven't needed them. What I know is something deeper than circumstance. I know the pattern. And chosen ones across the world from every background, every culture, every walk of life, they recognize these patterns because the playbook never changes. The tactics of someone who wants to dim your light are always the same. They plant doubt, not loudly, not in obvious ways you can point to and say, look, this person is undermining me. No, they do it in whispers, in suggestions, in subtle questions that sound supportive on the surface, but leave you feeling smaller underneath. They say things like, are you sure about that? Or, is that really realistic? Or, I just worry about you sometimes. And because it sounds like concern, because it wears the costume of care, you let it in. You turn those whispered doubts into internal monologue. You start asking yourself the questions they planted, convincing yourself that you thought of them on your own. You begin to shrink. You begin to hesitate. You begin to second guess the very gifts, the very instincts, the very dreams that God placed inside you before you were even born. And that is what they wanted. That is the whole plan. They isolate you. Not physically necessarily, though sometimes that too. But energetically, spiritually. They create conditions in your life through drama, through neediness, through manufactured crisis, through emotional manipulation. They create conditions that slowly pull you away from the people who truly love you, away from the practices that feed your spirit, away from the version of yourself that is most connected to God and most aligned with your purpose. They make themselves the center. They make themselves the need. And before you realize what has happened, you have built your entire emotional world around managing them. And somewhere in the process, you lost the thread of yourself. But here is the thing about the chosen one. You cannot be permanently lost. You can be delayed. You can be detoured. You can be temporarily turned around. But the divine compass inside you, the one that God installed before you drew your first breath, it always finds true north again. Always. No matter how far the detour takes you, no matter how deep the confusion gets, something inside you always starts to stir. Something always starts to whisper. Something always starts to pull you back toward yourself, back toward your truth, back toward your purpose, back toward the life that was written for you, long before this person ever entered the scene. You are feeling that pull right now. That is why you are here. I want to speak to the exhaustion for a moment, because I know it is real and I know how deep it goes. I know that some of you reading this have been carrying a weight that most people around you cannot see and would not understand, even if they could. The kind of exhaustion I am speaking about is not the kind that goes away with a good night of sleep. It is the exhaustion that lives in the bones, in the spirit, in the space behind the eyes. It is the exhaustion of a person who has been strong for too long, without anyone ever stopping to ask them if they are okay. The exhaustion of someone who has been giving and pouring into others while quietly, privately running on empty. And yet, chosen one, you are still here, still searching, still holding on to that ember of belief that refuses to go out completely, even when everything around you is wet and cold and dark. That ember is not stubbornness. That ember is not naivety. That ember is the divine within you, refusing to let the divine purpose within you be extinguished. It is the part of you that knows, even when you cannot feel it, even when logic tells you otherwise, that this story is not over, that the best chapters are still unwritten, that the thing you have been waiting for, The breakthrough you have been praying toward is not behind you. It is ahead. God has been preparing you for something that requires exactly the level of strength you have been building, through exactly the kind of fire you have been walking through. Let that sink in. Let it really land in your spirit. The preparation matches the assignment. And the assignment, chosen one, is enormous. You were never ordinary. And this person, this individual who has been working against you, they may have thought they were stopping you. They may have told themselves a story in which they have some kind of power over your trajectory, some ability to determine whether or not you succeed, whether or not you shine, whether or not you step into the fullness of what you were created to become. But they were wrong. They have always been wrong, because what God has ordained for a life, no human hand can permanently derail. They can slow things down. They can create detours. They can cost you time, energy, peace, relationships, sleep, tears. And they may have cost you all of those things.